these two teams have prepared for one another.
So am I. We are seeing a lot of those Sona plus X bot lanes as well, so Fnatic will hope to have a better read on it as we do get into Champion Select in a moment. If you're looking at this, if you're looking at the first few rotations of picks, Vedius, what are your priority picks for these teams? Where should they be looking in those opening selections?
Well, there's still the big powerhouse champions that you have to respect when it comes to the draft. Things like Aurelia, Sylas, Aatrox, Yuumi, things that are very often banned. You also have to take into account the reckless effect, where things like Sivir can raise in priority because of how talented he is on that champion. So Origen may look to take that one away. We're also seeing the Sona being banned away from Fnatic. They don't want to have to deal or play with that anymore, so that's going to limit that option down towards the bot side of the map. But things like Sylas is still open, Aatrox is still open. We know that Whipper would love to get his hands on that should it be up and available. I wouldn't be surprised to see Origen take that one off the board, and no real surprise to see the Sejuani banned away either. Considered definitely an S-tier jungler right now by many pros, one of the big priority champions that you want to get your hands on early.
I mean, Cole played it twice last week as well. We saw it teamed up with Nukeduck's Camille in the mid lane in their first victory. Here we have the Rise ban coming out next from Origen. As you said, Sylas, Aurelia still open. Even things like the Lee Sin or the Elise if Roxer wants to go for those early game junglers.
Interesting Draven ban, showing that respect towards Patrick. We do know that he's willing to play these aggressive champions down towards the bot side of the map, and we know that he's been playing a lot more aggressively in last week. So I'm excited to see what I'm expecting the Aatrox ban. You have to take that one away unless Origen have something prepared to deal with it. We know that Alphari does love to play the Kennen up towards the top side, which can be a good matchup in the early laning phases, but will struggle as the game progresses. And it will actually be the Aurelia, so surely you're expecting Fnatic to prioritize that Aatrox.
That is the expectation, but the Sylas is still there as well if you want to get Nemesis.
That's true.
Get his hands on that strong mid lane pick. Origen, as you say, we expect to have some of those counters, and if Fnatic don't go towards one of those power picks, then you would have Origen picking them both up. Sylas is the lock for Fnatic, and Origen can go towards Aatrox if they want.
Well, maybe it's not that high of a priority for both these teams. Maybe Origen expected Fnatic to prioritize the Aatrox, but with this Sylas pivot, Origen now have to take the route in a different direction. Wouldn't be surprised if we see something like an early Jarvan, maybe an early Xayah, Rakan, both very strong in the current meta and also very potent. But it looks like Origen, they've actually defied my expectations and have said, you know what, we'll lock this Aatrox in. They can flex it both mid and top, remember.
I guess the concern is if you don't pick it here, Fnatic just pick it next rotation, right? Whippo gets it, and then you give it across those two powerful picks in the solo lanes. Origen looking for their next pick here. Expect to see something relatively safe. The Xayah is something you mentioned, Vedius. Very strong AD carry down towards the bottom side, and Patrick will put his hands on that poultry in the bottom lane.
Now, I wonder what Reckless and Hylissang have prepared for the Xayah Rakan. You would imagine that they would either look to take the Rakan away and go for something like the Sivir themselves, or they could go in a different direction. They could bring out something unique. We have not seen any Kai'Sa over the last few weeks here in Europe. We've heard a lot about the new build that she's been going towards, but Europeans have not really been a big fan of it. But who was I kidding? I thought maybe they could consider something like the Ezreal, but of course, when Sivir is open, it is one of Reckless's most famous champions, and he's immediately going to lock that one in.
Yeah, getting to that 500 CS win condition is a must for Fnatic. We actually saw Reckless hitting 400 CS at the 30-minute mark last week, so he knows exactly how to pilot that champ down towards the bottom side. But there is the Rakan stolen away from Origen, so we're not going to see Xayah alongside her lover down towards that bottom lane. Origen, you thought they might have an answer. The Lux is one we've seen cropping up.
Well, it's the answer over in the LCK. Lux is actually one of the most picked supports over towards the east. And I think that it's also a very good matchup into the Rakan as well. We already saw it last week being played. So I think Origen is very happy with this 2v2 down towards the bot side of the map. And both teams right now have strong solo laners in the form of Aatrox and Sylas. Remember, both can be flexed, so ultimately Origen will get to decide who goes where because they're on the red side, they get that final pick counter. But Fnatic right now have a lot of options in terms of being able to get the jungle counter matchup, which will favor Broxer, to allow him to play towards that strong early game, which he's done so far in week 1.
So if Fnatic are looking for the jungle counter matchup, how can Origen play this? Because you could just pick a safe solo laner and then get the jungle counter for yourselves if you're Origen.
Well, right now, what it looks like Origen is doing is they're just trying to ban away top laners, because this kind of suggests that they want to primarily put Aatrox up towards the top side. And given that we already talked about counter junglers, Fnatic right now are looking to limit that jungle pool so that they can try and get the best possible jungle matchup. I think that champions like Elise and, Rek'Sai and Olaf would be, well, Jarvan would probably be the safest blind right now, and I love that we're seeing the Lee Sin ban, because this is kind of suggesting that, you know, Origen don't actually have a lot of engage on their side of the composition right now, and if they grab the Jarvan, it's an easy way to start off fights. And also they have early game playmaking tools that they can look to utilize to maybe play around the Aatrox or even play around this LEC bot lane.
Well, we'll see if Origen do decide to go for a relatively early jungler. There's the Jarvan taken away, so remove some more of those tools. Now Origen have to either safe pick a solo laner or look for their jungle.
So if Origen go for the Rek'Sai, then Fnatic can go for the Skarner. If they go for the Olaf, they have, I'm trying to think of like good matchups into Olaf, because like a lot of the things have actually been banned away. So I think, I kind of feel like Olaf might be the stronger pick.
That would make a lot of sense here. Rek'Sai is going to be the lock.
But like, it's understandable still. I still think that the Rek'Sai is a very strong early game jungler. I think that she offers a lot in terms of early skirmishing. It's very difficult to match her. And the Skarner is not a strong early game answer, but it does act as a very strong pick tool that if the Rek'Sai ever goes in, you lock them down. And I think that it's seen globally as one of the go-to picks. And we do know that Broxah has it in his pool. He's played it in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that come out from him. He could also go for the Olaf himself. And of course, there is the option for a Gragas as well. A bit of AP to add to the composition. Still good wave clear. Usually you don't go more towards the tanky route these days. You're still building very much towards the AP side of things. And it offers a lot of disengage. It also acts as a way to start off fights. It can be very good at finding picks. Overall, a very versatile jungler. But in the 1v1, can struggle against the likes of Rek'Sai.
I look at this Fnatic comp and I only really see scaling. Their early game not incredibly strong, not that explosive early game that we usually, or that we can see, especially with Broxah having such strong first 10-15 minutes of his games last week. Now Origen looking for their final pick, expect it to be towards the mid lane. Of course, the Aatrox could be flexed, and you had previously mentioned that cannon for Alfari in the top lane.
So they do want to get a little bit more AP in their composition, so they will go for the cannon. They consider this to be a good matchup into the Shen, and it makes sense. Ranged versus melee matchups. We saw what Alfari did against Wonder last week on the Vladimir, building massive CS advantages in the laning phase. And also it adds a little bit more team fight to the composition from Origen. You already mentioned it, Fnatic. Their composition looks like they want to play very much towards the bot side of the map. I do believe that their 2v2 in the mid jungle is a little bit weaker, so Fnatic are a little bit limited in their early game options, but around level 6, once Shen has his ulti, and once the Rakan has the ulti and W setup, then they have a couple of tools in order to try and get their bot lane ahead. Meanwhile, for Origen, because of how strong their 2v2 mid jungle is, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cold spend a lot more time in the early game playing around Nuke Duck, allowing him to play aggressive, build up leads, and then maybe look for roams, maybe look for a dive up towards the top side, try and shut down the Shen, or maybe they'll look to try and attack the bot lane early to try and deny any level 6 play from coming out from the side of Fnatic.
It does make a lot of sense. Try and shut down Fnatic as they wait to get towards that level 6 mark. Want to set the expectation around Shen. It's not a pick we too commonly see, but in the past when we saw it, we always talk about the first couple of Shen ultimates. If you don't get something from it, if you're not using it proactively, you can be pushed quite far behind. So keep your eyes on Whippo. See what he does with that Shen ult, and if Fnatic can utilize it to get a bottom lane advantage.
We'll see if they're able to do that. Very excited to see this matchup. A rematch of the semifinals from last split. It's going to be an exciting one. Fnatic versus Origen.
Summoner's Rift greets us once again for what is likely to be the match of the week. Fnatic versus Origen, the semi-finalists from Rotterdam. It was a 3-1 scoreline for Origen last time these two teams met. We'll see if Fnatic have turned things in their favor today.
Now we are seeing some early game shenanigans coming out from Fnatic. You'll notice that Nemesis and Bwipo have both moved into the lane towards the bot side of the map. They could be looking for a pick. They could be looking for a delayed invade. It depends if their expectations are that OG will want to try and get into the lane first to try and start building an advantage. But it looks like they won't find anything, so they're just going to disengage for now.
Yeah, because you expect Cold to start top side of the map, getting the red buff on the Rek'Sai so strong for you. You know that Patrick and Mithy might be pushed up in that lane already. And Fnatic were trying to spot that out. Didn't manage to do anything about it. And so they will just back away. Whippo here just helping Hylissang and Rekkles scout out the river before any action really is undertaken.
Yeah, providing an extra member in these early laning phases, especially someone like a Shen who can just skill that taunt at level 1, is definitely valuable and adds a bit of extra security, but also they've decided to swap things up. Notice that Nemesis has actually made his way up towards the top side of the map, and Whippo is actually going to be going mid. So Fnatic is saying here that they believe that Sylas into Kennen is a much better matchup, or they believe that the Shen is a truly terrible matchup into the Kennen and they want to try and avoid it. But I can also see how Shen would do much better into the Aatrox as well in terms of the 1 versus 1 matchup. Your ability to block a lot of his damage, thanks to the Spirit's Refuge, and also the gank setup that you have, arguably makes your 2v2 a little bit stronger with the Gragas and the Shen. So a quick on-the-fly adaptation coming out from the side of Fnatic.
Not too strong if you miss the taunts, though, as Whippo just goes a little bit wide onto Nukeduck. But we did mention that weak 2v2 from Fnatic, trying to shore up some of their weaknesses in the early game because they do just want to get to those 2-3 items to when Sivir is incredibly powerful and can scale into some of these team fights. Also gives Whippo the opportunity to roam, possibly, if he maybe gets a Tiamat early, pushes in the wave, could look down towards that bottom lane to try and help out his AD carry and support. Good long-range taunt there from Whippo will force Nukeduck back underneath the tower. Takes a tower shot though, but he's still got 3 charges on his Corrupting Potion, and it's only a Doran's Blade for Nukeduck, so Whippo has the Sustain War 1 in that middle lane.
Yeah. The important thing to remember about Aatrox in the early game is he does have very long cooldowns, and Shen does a surprising amount of damage because obviously you get taunted, he gets those resistances, he then gets the increased attack speed as well, and he can be very effective at just these early duels, especially against melee champions. So every time Nukeduck tries to approach the wave, Whippo is looking for a trade himself, and then of course you have the Grasp to give him that extra bit of sustain as well. So demonstrating how well the Shen can do into the Aatrox early. And we'll keep track of this matchup as the game progresses, because this is definitely not a common one that we see.
Not at all. We have to keep our eyes on it. I like this from Cold. Went in, stole away the blue buff. Actually, because Broxah went back for the Predator boots, Cold knew there was an opportunity for him now. If a little bit of a fight over the Scuttle Crab, Alfari on his way down, but Nukeduck forced underneath his tower, meant that Whippo could come across, and Broxah was safe taking the Scuttle.
Yeah, as you rightly said, it was Whippo who had priority, which made it that much easier to secure that Scuttle. Cold, he did look for a bit of an invade, getting a bit more information onto where Broxah was, given that he dropped that ward on the walls, as we see a bit of trading down towards the bot side of the map.
It's a little bit dangerous, actually, from Hylissang. He's going to get the heal up with Gleaming Quill, but maybe trying to pull Patrick and Mithy to overstep as Broxah's on his way down. Broxah not in the best of shapes here as the Scuttle Crab is taken by Cold up towards the top side. Good
spell shield there from Rekkles, waiting for the feathers from Patrick before proccing it, because he knows that's where the bulk of the damage comes from, and if he gets rooted, he could be in danger from the Lux as well. Meanwhile, as you rightly noticed, now we see a gank in mid.
Good taunt onto Nukeduck. He's going to try and Umbral dash his way up towards the top side. Gets away. There is vision in that bush where Broxah's standing, so Nukeduck knew that the gank was coming before Broxah showed himself in the lane.
We're also seeing what we talked a little bit about earlier on, where by swapping the Shen into the mid, it does make your 2v2 just a little bit stronger. The Gragas does have a decent amount of damage, especially in the early game, and once that taunt lands, then it's that much easier for Broxah to then follow up with his crowd control as well. So I like this play coming out so far from Fnatic. The early game still very even as I said, the OG building up a bit of a gold advantage just because Alfari is running the Kleptomancies, playing against a melee top laner, and that's likely where a lot of the early gold lead is coming from.
I want to thank our observers just for switching Shen around there on the scoreboard. Makes it a lot easier for me to compare CS numbers. You can see it's about a 2 CS difference in the mid lane. Alfari 5 to 6 ahead, about a wave for him, but Nemesis and Alfari have actually just both used their teleports up towards that top lane, so they won't have them for the next fight.
Want to note again how Broxah is still being very active in the early game. He's playing the Gragas. You do have early game options, but notice the difference in farm. Cold has been spending a lot of his time counter jungling, scouting, trying to get information on where Broxah is, but he's also been doing a great job of farming his own half of the map, whereas Broxah, he's looked for multiple ganks. He looked for a couple of opportunities mid, he just looked for a play down bot, and again, just like he did in week 1, he's looking for early game opportunities for Fnatic to try and get the ball rolling very early on.
That he is. Rekkles doing a good job down here in the bottom lane. They pushed up that wave. He's a little bit ahead in farm, but Patrick running the teleport, whereas Rekkles has run and used that heal down towards the bottom lane, means that Patrick gets back in, has picked himself up with that pickaxe. Cold perhaps looking for something up towards the top side, but I think both junglers are pretty happy, you know, trying to make plays, but then just denying as much vision as possible.
Look at Fnatic on the minimap right now, though. They're sending the bot lane up to mid. They're looking for a play.
Predator in, Whipper with flash, Taunt, Hillersang flashes in as well, looking for the chase as Nukeduck tries to get away, but the Grand Entrance will knock him back in his first blood to Hillersang.
Beautifully done from Fnatic. They knew that Patrick and Mithy were going to go back to base. They knew that they could look to make this roam play up towards the mid lane, and it's very common for supports to make this roam once they hit level 4. They had the Shen Taunt, they had the Gragas follow-up, very well executed from the side of Fnatic, and they find themselves that early game lead that they were looking for.
Not able to get any plates in the mid lane. Hillersang trying to get a demolished block off, but wasn't able to. Nemesis actually coming up here. Whippo uses the Stand United to join his mid laner, and Alfari is in for a world of hurt. 2 quick jabs from Fnatic, and another kill on the board.
Great utilization of the Shen ultimate. The moment Whippo hits 6, he looks for a play, and he finds it topside. The Nemesis ultimate was used to steal away the Cannon ultimate, and that was the perfect setup to allow the duo to find another kill. Fnatic still behind in gold, but lead the game in kills.
I said, what will the first Stand United do? Well, it gets Fnatic a kill, it gets Nemesis on the board. He's in a very strong position now, as that Silas will only get stronger when he picks up his Proto Belt. Now it looks like they're sending him to mid, with Whippo up towards top lane. Whippo still has his teleport available.
That's a good note there, Medic. The fact that Whippo has that TP available means that he can join any fight that should kick off. Broxer with a good steal there, as Cold slightly miscalculates his smite. But the fact Nemesis had used his teleport earlier, which means that if he's sitting in mid lane, now everyone from Fnatic can still join all these skirmishes, whereas Alfari, no teleport available. So again, like, we're seeing a lot of smart decisions coming out from the side of Fnatic, moving around the map very well, looking to push their advantage whenever they can, and still keeping things very even across the board. The only deficit right now is that Whippo is a little bit behind in farm to both laners, but you know what? I think he makes up for that in the amount of plays that he's successfully made for his team.
Oh, it definitely does. Has the Tiamat now as well, so can push the waves. We'll have another look at this top lane play. I think it went exactly as you expected, Betty.
Yeah, so we can see, very quick pan down towards the Shen, see him using his ultimate from base, and it was just a very well thought out, executed play from Fnatic. Nemesis steals away the ultimate, he dashes past the minions, he's able to land the stun as well, and it looked like Alfari just wasn't expecting that play, especially his Shen ult to come up towards topside when it looked like Fnatic was so focused on playing around their duo.
And there was a little bit of subversion of expectations from Fnatic, because although Boxer spent a lot of time down towards the bottom lane early on, it's been top and mid that have got them these kills, that have got these leads in the early game. We expect them to move to play around bot, but Cold is looking to play around top. Alfari pops the slicing mouse from Whippo, has no way of getting away, no flash, and Origen are on the board.
Exactly that. Origen finally find themselves a kill. They punish Whippo for his aggressive playstyle up towards the top side. Now Broxer is forced to come top lane, try and help clear out these waves. But again, look at the minimap. Keep an eye on what Hillersang is up to. He's already making his way up towards the top lane, given that they realize they can't make much happen down towards the bot side of the map.
And even though Fnatic are 2-1 up on the scoreline, there's still 1,500 gold lead here for Origen. A lot of that sitting on the cannon. Alfari is sitting at 3,800 gold to only 2,700 on Whippo, who I'm counting as his counter matchup, even though they're not aligned on the scoreboard.
Also remember that because Rekkles made that roam up towards mid lane, there was a period of time where he wasn't farming, whereas Patrick was. They've also secured themselves 2 plates down towards the bot side, so a small lead has started to build up for Patrick, which is again where this gold lead is helping mount from the side of Origen. But Fnatic, they still want to try and shut down Nukeduck. They're looking for another play.
Yeah, Boxer unable to get in there. Nukeduck did pop the World Ender, so was trying to take one down with him, even if he did fall at the end of it.
Utilizes that bonus movement speed to just get away because he didn't have the flash available. So it was very much a defensive safety ultimate and just in case. And he avoids the play once more as his ultimate is now stolen away by Nemesis.
So 10 minutes in, Fnatic's trying to get the river control down towards this bottom side as Hillersang and Boxer team up, something we've seen them do so many times in the past. But Origen have been pretty good at keeping vision in isolated spots, enough to see Fnatic on the rotation, even if they can't spot exactly where they are every moment of the game.
The vision has been pretty solid from both sides. Something that Fnatic has done exceptionally well is in the river in particular, something that you were just talking about, Medic. And notice you can see these control walls littered across the map. There are 2 invested bot side, 1 invested top side from Fnatic. And it's just how we talked about Fnatic shouldn't have had that many early game options. It should have really been more in the control of Origen. When you have this Rek'Sai and you're playing with an Aatrox in mid as well, you expect that 2v2 to just be very, very strong. But because they made this pivot with the Shen, it enhanced this 2v2 and it gave Fnatic more options options to play around mid, which they've done very, very well in this early game because they're the ones that have had control over the mid lane. They're the ones that have been allowed to move into the river earlier, and that has allowed them to get all this vision, which is now being pushed back out because the bot lane of Patrick and Mithy have gained a little bit more control, and they're working with their jungler to set up vision around the Drake.
Yeah, we see the jungle and the support duo up so much this game. Both teams well known for that style of play. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Alfari continues to push in. He'll be looking to take down his third plate up towards this top side, but it's kind of that ebb and flow. The wave of Origen crashes forward, gets vision, then Fnatic wave comes back into the river and gains vision control for FNC.
Yeah, there's a lot of trading back and forth, and once again, Fnatic have the right set on the mid lane.
Good flash away from Nukeduck. Broxer misses with the cast. Nemesis can still go with the chase. Here's Hylissang. Nukeduck looking to get across the wall, but the charm from Hylissang gets him his second kill. Cold dodging away through all of the network of tunnels and manages to escape.
But Fnatic once again find a successful gank onto Nukeduck. They are just shutting this Aatrox down, and while the 2v2 might be stronger, Fnatic are never allowing that to happen. It's always 3 or even 4 members trying to shut him down, and once again, Fnatic find themselves another kill, but crucially, still behind in gold. So this game is very even.
This is what we want to see Fnatic doing a little bit more, though. Get the kill, then get something out of it. Get an objective, get the Rift Herald, get the Cloud Drake. Just try and find a little bit more than just that single kill's worth of gold. And that is exactly what they'll do now. They'll grab the Rift Herald, and Whipper will clear out the vision up towards this top side. Fnatic are still behind, but they are in a strong spot considering the scaling options they have on their teams. Not something we talk too much about from Origen. We said they want to get some early plays in, they want to make some early moves on the map. Haven't been able to do that, but they seem to scale pretty well as well. You look at Kennen, you look at an Aatrox, you look at Xayah, that's pretty deadly in the late game.
Yeah, I don't think that the... we'll talk a little bit more about scaling after we see the play. Great stun landed from Nemesis. Nukeduck sidesteps and dodges a lot of the follow-up from Broxer, but unfortunately there's not much that he can do from the taunt and CC that is coming out from the side of Hylissang. So he ends up securing the kill. Cold is forced to run away, but now Origen looking for some revenge.
And Nemesis does have his flash here. Cold going in, can't land the unbow.
Hylissang again.
Hylissang's always around this mid. Reckless very happy just to be up by himself down towards the bottom side, but Alfari trying to join the fight, landing the haymaker. Hylissang fourth down into the stopwatch. Mithy comes in as well. The teleport used by Origen as they try and make this a 5v4. Patrick there a little bit late, and Fnatic have been able to disengage.
So all 5 Origen members move towards the mid lane. Patrick had pushed out bot. He had the teleport. Alfari was already on his way, and they nearly punish Hylissang for overcommitting in that play. They don't convert it into anything, as Mithy gets a bit of chip damage down onto a few Fnatic members, but both teams walk away with their lives.
Yeah. Whipper a lot squishier than I'd expect, considering he's not actually been able to build any health so far, really, on that Shen. So Mithy doing quite a lot of damage with the final spark, but expect Whipper to go towards the Titanic Hydra, get some more wave play under his belt, and then it will be a little bit stronger, at least, when it comes to the team fighting stage. Vedi, I want to talk about what happens next, because right now it looks like it might be Whipper getting caught out in the top lane. Alfari going in, uses the Hextech Gunblade, Cold on his way as well. The stun will land, but are they going to chase him underneath the tower? Shen's very difficult to do. The Rift Herald used bot by Fnatic as they look for the first turret of the game.
So notice how Origen, they had initially sent their duo towards the mid lane. They then had Rek'Sai playing around top side, and their whole focus was to try and secure top tower, while Nukeduck just grabbed the bot wave. Meanwhile, Fnatic recognize this, so they keep Nemesis mid, and they retain their duo bot lane, so they can then convert this into a Rift Herald later. And because they have the Rift Herald, it's easy for them to secure the tower, and now they're looking for another kill.
Hylissang in with the quickness. Nukeduck does have the ultimate though, and Cold is on his way, but Nukeduck falls first. Rift Herald used, there's Alfari with the flank. Broxer's going to get chommed down by Cold, and now Hylissang and Reckless are on the wrong side of the rift. Alfari coming in from the side, just needs to land that ultimate. The slicing mouse available. Reckless trying to dodge around. He'll get taken out by Mithy, and Hylissang will fall as well. The kill gifted to Patrick.
And a great punish from the side of Origen this time round. Fnatic, they had a very clear turret in mind. They had the Rift Herald, and there were going to be few options for Origen to really answer. But because they overcommit for that dive, because they're so determined to get that kill onto Nukeduck, it puts them in a position where they cannot escape from, and this allows Origen to go back to base, return to the map, and shut down Fnatic, and now extend their gold lead to 2.5k.
And it's just, in the end, it's a tower for tower trade, and Origen are the team picking the kills up off the back of it. Now, Cloud Drake is on the menu for Origen as well. Not the most impactful of dragons in the game, but will help Kennen on those flanks. he tries to get on towards the back line. Cold will secure it, and we'll see which dragon comes up next after this replay.
So here we see, look at the minimap right now. You'll notice that mid and top have been matched, but no cannon has come back yet. Cold uses an opportunity to go back to base, but even in this situation, sure, maybe he trades one kill, but like, this isn't the end of the world. The problem here from Fnatic is that they're just underneath the tower, behind the tier 2, giving plenty of time for Patrick to roam around. Alfari has gone back to base and walked down, and this was just a big overcommitment from the side of Fnatic that they did not need to make.
Oh, dive onto Nemesis here as Alfari uses the slicing maelstrom. Nemesis trying to heal himself up as much as possible. It might be enough. The final spark, the tick. It's not enough damage to kill Nemesis. He survives, but the tower will fall shortly after.
Cold does still have the ultimate, but he will not be able to convert it. So Origen, after taking the Drake, sent 3 members down bot to convert that into another objective. Patrick is now trying to group up with his mid laner to hold off this 3-man unit with the rest of Origen close behind.
Lux on her way. Illusang trying to get away. Lucent Singularity will not catch him out, and they're able to hold on to the tower for now. And still, Origen are slowly just extending this gold lead. It's about 3,000 now, Vedis, even though it's Fnatic that are making a lot of the plays.
So what Fnatic did after they died was they decided to send 1 person top, 2 people mid, and then 1 person bot. Whereas Origen, after securing the Drake, committed 3 people bot side, which means they were guaranteed a numbers advantage and could convert it into an objective. The problem is Fnatic were too slow to make a decision, and because they only had 2 people mid initially, they couldn't quite secure the mid tower and trade it in their favor. They will end up getting that top tower, but overall Origen is very fine with this trade because they know they don't have that much top lane control, and they're just going to walk away with the fact that they kept their mid lane alive. They almost secured a kill, but they also secured that bot tower. So now the map is a lot more open, and they can look to play towards this mid tier 1 now.
Looking to set up that deep vision into the flank potential for both of these teams. It's a pretty symmetrical map if you look at it. Both bot towers down, both top towers down, even on the scoreboard. The only difference is that Cloud Drake going across towards Origen and the slight gold lead they have. That gold lead not fully manifesting into items yet. You've got Hextech Gunblade on Alfari, Black Cleaver on Nuke Duck, and the Essence Reaver on Patrick. But on the other side, Reckless actually has an Essence Reaver and a Rapid Fire Cannon complete already. You've got a Proto Belt on Nemesis in the mid lane, and Whippo has finished that Titanic Hydra.
Well, this is the thing. Origen haven't actually gone and reset yet and looked to spend their gold, whereas Fnatic have. So they're the ones in control right now, and they're in a much better position to start making plays and trying to gain vision on the map. You know, you already talked about the item differences. Notice how Fnatic feel very confident in moving up in towards this river and lane, and they're actually committing towards the bot side of the map, whereas Origen is committing more towards the top side, while Patrick just hold onto his 1v1. So Origen playing much more towards their strong side right now, whereas Fnatic is doing the same on the opposite side of the map with Nemesis on his Silas. Level 13, 2-level advantage over Nuke Duck, has the Proto Belt completed, nearing the Luden's Echo, and they're just supporting him, allowing him to gain this advantage and secure himself another tower.
Fnatic just seems to be slightly quicker on the trigger, slightly faster tempo from them as they get that bot lane tower, continue to push Nemesis in. Brox is getting vision control in this blue side jungle as well, and at some point, Alfari will be able to take the tower, but the question now becomes, how much do you trade either side for these teams? At what point do you pull for a team fight? At what point do you go for a play in the mid lane as Boxer and Nemesis look for it, but can't quite find the engage?
Well, I think that when Baron becomes a bigger objective on the map is when we'll start to see more team fights. For the time being, Origen and Fnatic both know that they have a very clear, strong member that they can just leave to their own devices. In this case for Fnatic, it's Nemesis, very strong, level 13, we already said it, and now he has completed that Luden's Echo. Meanwhile, for Origen, they have the cannon, Alfari, Gunblade completed, Morellonomicon completed. This guy is so strong in the 1 versus 1 that you'll likely just see them for the time being continue to play towards these sides of the map. But Infernal is up next, Baron is up soon. And these are 2 very big objectives that both these teams are going to want to look to play around. And notice how Alfari doesn't have teleport yet, so they've actually kept their strong side towards the bot half of the map. And notice they're not even sending anyone to go and deal with the Shen, they're actually just sending all 4 members down towards mid. Origen want to guarantee a numbers advantage, given that the Drake is spawning soon, and they want to gain priority around the river so they can set up for this objective first.
As you say it, Vedius, that's exactly what they do. Fnatic, though, pinned back into their own jungle, 1 ward behind Origen. There is a teleport available for Nemesis and for Whippo, so make sure if a teamfight does begin, you look at that ward, because Nemesis is down towards the bottom lane. He's pushed out a wave. Origen have now moved back towards mid. They're sending Nuke Duck top, as his teleport will be off cooldown pretty soon. Actually, he's just going to ward the Baron. to make sure Fnatic aren't going for it.
So now, this is where Origen seem a little bit split on their decision-making, because Nukejoke started walking towards top because he thought about trying to catch the wave, but he doesn't have teleport, and this has given a small window for Fnatic to move in and reclaim some of the vision, but OG still have priority. They're the ones in control, and so they're the ones moving to the Drake first, but Fnatic smartly pushing in mid, getting that prio and threatening the tower.
Not going to go for the tower, but the Inferno Dragon has been started. Origen here, baiting Fnatic into a boxing match in the river. Who will land the first punch? Cold gets the Inferno Dragon. Fnatic now forced back. Origen don't want the fight either. They're just going to retreat in towards their jungle, but Fnatic will get the push into mid.
As you rightly said, Medic, Fnatic were the ones that had priority, so they can trade this Infernal for the mid tier 1, and they're going to keep pushing this. The fact that they can clear this wave now allows them to move towards the Baron and top side of the map, where they already have a wave, and they can start getting this deep vision in up against Origen. So even though Origen walk away with an objective, they walk away with an Infernal that they're very happy with, in terms of map control, they lose quite a lot, committing so much to securing that objective.
Can they utilize the extra AD and AP they get out of it to win this game? That's the question, because losing that mid lane tower just opens up so much more opportunity for Fnatic. They can find flanks, they can find pockets of vision, pockets of darkness for Origen, and then find those picks they need to go for the Baron. Nice ward here in the middle of the lane from Mithy to spot out Reckless as he pushes up the wave, but Origen now just happy to spread out once again into their lanes. Defensive stance from them. Cold maybe looking down towards bottom lane. Hylissang has actually just snuck into this push. They know Nemesis is somewhere in the area, but can Cold react in time? Alphari's going to be jumped on. There comes Brippo as well with the Stand United, and Fnatic is just looking for the one punch. Done! A total knockout in the bottom lane as Alphari falls.
And this is again Fnatic playing towards their strong side of the map. They know that if they leave Nemesis in the 1 versus 1, he can gain advantages for the team, but they do one better than that. They bring Hylissang down, they commit the Shen ultimate, and it guarantees a numbers advantage against Alphari, meaning that he doesn't even have time to flash away from that objective. So now Fnatic have more members on the board, they have pushing bot, they have 4 members mid, and they can look to start pressuring either this mid tier 2 or potentially even the bot tier 3.
And Fnatic do make the decision to push up mid instead of going straight towards getting Baron vision. Now they can step back because they know Origen have to react to that mid wave, and they will try and clear out as much of this vision as possible.
But remember that while Fnatic were committing 3 members bot, Origen could have used that time to gain vision when you can see some of these wards sprinkled around. So Fnatic, they have to be careful now, and they can't just take too many risks, because the potential for an Alphari flank could come in. The risk of getting collapsed on is there, so they've got to make sure they maintain that vision control. Here we see just a very easy play, but just keep an eye on how the mini-map is being set up. Notice the positioning of Sivir. Notice that the top wave is already pushed up. Fnatic were very safe in making this play, and there was very little that Origen could do to punish them for making it.
And you can see Origen unable to get push towards the Fnatic side of the map because that mid lane tower is still up. Talked about how strong it was for Fnatic to take down the Origen mid. Well, Origen unable to really step as far forward as they would like. They're trying to gesture around the river for the moment, but not going to be able to get too much out of it, you have to feel. Maybe looking for the force mid.
So now notice how Fnatic have committed vision into the river, but this has allowed Origen to just gain mid priority. So they'll finally knock this tower down. Cole trying to zone away some of the other Fnatic members, but Bwipo just going to force him back. Ultimately, Origen walk away as a happy team, as they were able to successfully push in bot, force Nemesis to go down and address that. They were able to secure that mid tier 1. But Fnatic maintain vision control around the Baron, and that's the important thing. Because now when they go back to base, when they push out some of their waves and Origen is still catching some of these sides, Fnatic can stock up on all their wards, and there's still a lot on the map. So it's so much easier now for them to maintain control over the Baron, and they're the threatening team right now. Given, again, Origen, they committed to the tower, not vision control around this objective.
Okay, the Scrying Trinket will spot that out. The far side alteration coming out from Patrick, and Boxer had actually taken quite a lot of damage. Is the AP Gragas that we talked about going towards the Morello Nomicon next. So wasn't able to tank that up as long as he'd like.
Now look at the side. Oh, we see a TP flank.
Going for the teleport. Alphari's coming in behind here, looking for the slicing mouse from straight onto Reckless, but Reckless flashes away and uses the heal. Alphari unable to find the catch as the Void Rush comes in. Reckless still alive in this fight, somehow surviving. He'll open up, but eventually he's shut down by Nukejoke. 2 kills to Origen, and Fnatic have to walk away wounded.
Origen, look at the minimap and see that there are 3 pushing waves against them right now. We have to try and make a play. And remember that when they were committing to that mid tower, they dropped that 1 ward in the lane, and it gave Alphari the perfect opportunity to find a flank and force a fight. Ends up being 2 for 1 in their favor. They can now safely go and catch these waves, and Fnatic can't threaten the Baron off the back of it.
Proactive play there by Origen, pulling the trigger on what could have been a very dicey moment when Alfari wasn't able to really connect with the slicing Maelstrom. I thought it may have all been lost, but the follow-up from Cold, from Nukeduck, diving on towards that Civic, catching out Reckless, worked so well for them. Now, Mithy is going to make Whippo take a little bit of
It's going to be obnoxious.
He's got a shield. This is what you do with supports, Vedius, okay? You can't really influence the game as much as you'd like sometimes. So you're just like, oh, you take a few Baron hits.
Honestly, I think both supports have been pretty impactful so far this game, in particular Hylissang.
Okay, maybe I can't influence the game.
But I loved what he's been doing around the map because very often you don't get to see supports joining these side lanes and looking to make these plays, and his roams have been beautiful as now. Second and funnel of the game has been started up. Both these teams want to fight for it.
But used by Whippo, Alfari actually catches Hylissang down to half HP, doesn't have the quickness, doesn't have the flash, doesn't have those engaged tools, but they force them away. Broxah jumps straight onto Patrick, not a moment to flash away, and Fnatic will secure the Infernal.
A lot of cooldowns were still unavailable, in particular that one for Alfari from the side of Origen, so Fnatic felt confident in making that play. They get a very important pick onto Patrick, and now when OG had relieved the pressure, Fnatic are right back on top as they make their way towards the Baron.
So there's one ward here. We'll see if Fnatic spot it out. They have not. Okay, they've cleared out the pit, but Origen have some awareness of the exact situation in this Baron pit. Fnatic force back. Alfari has the slicing mouse, and Nukeduck has the ult. Mithy as well, looking for that light binding. If he connects, you have to expect the follow-up from Origen. Fnatic is down to 3,000 HP. Nemesis jumps in with a slicing mouse of his own, but he's sliced up by Alfari. The final spark is not enough. Whippo still on the chase. Baron resetting, but Fnatic are thirsty for blood. They can't find any more as Origen retreats.
Smart decision making there from Fnatic. Don't commit to the Baron when Alfari has his ulti back up. Let's turn and look for a pick. It ends up working out very heavily in their favor. Fnatic have now finally gained themselves the gold lead for a very brief moment so far in this game. But this game is so close. It feels like right now, though, that Fnatic are the ones in control as Origen look to clear out some of the vision around Baron.
And big item spikes being hit by Fnatic now as well. Reckless is about to go back and pick up his Infinity Edge. Let's have another look at this fight because it's Nemesis who steps forward.
So the crucial thing here is that Nemesis has his ulti up and so does Hylissang. So they can just commit onto one target and lock them down. So closely does Hylissang almost lose his life, but fortunately he's able to walk away with it. And he ends up finding that crucial pick onto Alfari and just take stock at some of the level differences we're seeing right now. Nemesis at 16, Whippo at 15. Reckless, yes, he's a level behind Patrick, who's been picking up a lot of farm thanks to his TP advantage.
This is not good for Hylissang. The grand entrance goes across, but Cold with the chase. Hylissang has to flash, and that's a big team fight. Summoner spell burnt there. Hylissang has found ways into fights without his flash before, but that is a big tool.
And notice how Origen and Fnatic are playing the map very differently right now, because Origen are choosing to group up as 4 to try and force control over certain areas, whereas Fnatic are playing multiple lanes. They're playing the 1-3-1 style. They do have the Shen and they have the Sylas, and they're utilizing those two champions to push in these sides. And if you look at the minimap, you can again see bot is pushed up, top is pushed up, and then they're just utilizing Sivir to maintain mid control. So Origen's only answer is, rather than try and match these side laners, let's just create a numbers advantage and we can brute force Fnatic out of the river so we can at least gain a little bit of vision control.
Hasn't worked out well for them in the last few fights. From the Infernal to the Baron fight, Fnatic have had their number. Cold looking for a flank here, but needs to get away because Whippo and Broxah are coming in from the sides. He will escape. Predator was burnt by Broxah as well, but not too much lost there.
And I love that you mentioned that as well, because the thing is, every time Origen group up as a 4-man unit to try and force a play, they are losing experience, whereas Fnatic is maximizing it, because their solo laners are getting all this farm, Reckless is getting it in the mid lane, and the only person that's benefiting for Origen is Patrick. So Nukeduck is still very far behind. Alfari is now even with Whippo, but now Fnatic finally feel confident to force the Baron. Will they be scared off this time round?
So Cold's coming across. He was in the bottom lane pushing it in. Now Whippo has the stand united. He's on the inhibitor tower. Origen, no vision. Lucent Singularity goes in. 3,000 HP left on the Baron. They can burst it. Brilliant cast gets used. Cold goes in. Can't get it. Alfari looking for the slicing master straight onto the back line. Cold is on the front line as Boxer goes down. Patrick takes him out. Now Patrick with the Featherstorm. Whippo with the perfect taunt. But the stopwatch is out. Nukeduck needs to do a lot in this fight because Nemesis is shredding through Origen. There is no escape. There is no surviving. Fnatic clean sweep Origen.
Beautiful fight from the side of Fnatic. The teleport is now coming through from Nemesis. He's in the bot lane. He has a minion wave. He has the Baron. And Fnatic are looking to gain revenge after the semi-final last split.
With the inhibitor, the target, Fnatic should be able to close the game from here. 20 seconds on Cold, 17 on Alfari, but the Nexus turrets are the target. Fnatic, after being behind the majority of the game, strike back, find their red team bite and take down Origen.
Excellent game between the two teams, but Fnatic, I loved how they played the side lanes. I love the utilization of Nemesis and Whippo. In the end, they created a 1-4 situation where they had